Obsessive worrying over everyday things that can make you feel anxious and overwhelmed, but how can you stop yourself from worrying? Joining us with tips is Jeff Laundreville, author of The Filter, and he's here to help us worry less or stop this obsessive worrying. There's a normal amount of worrying, right? Worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, you know, if I'm going to make my appointment on time, or those kind of things that are normal.
Yeah.
But then there's
I think you have to watch your words. Exactly.
Yeah.
If you worry where it becomes obsessive, well, then you're going to hurt yourself. You're causing stress. You're causing damage to your body. You're causing a sickness within your body. And I always say there's a difference to be concerned and worried. Concern is good. And everyone's concerned about a lot of different things. But when you worry, that's when it becomes negative, turns into stress, and makes you sick, literally.
Yes, literally. So here's some tips to stop the obsessive worrying. The first tip is to cultivate greater awareness about your emotions.
Right. And people say, well, how can I control that? How can I control that? I worry all the time. That's the way I've always been. This is how you can control it. Realize it's happening. That's the first step to anything. If 50% of every battle is awareness, the other 50% is doing something about it. So 50% of saying, okay, what am I doing right now? Why am I worrying? And really kind of talking to yourself through it, because how else are you going to figure it out unless you're trying to, problem solve within your own mind? So you want to say, okay, why am I worrying? What can I control? What can I not control? What can I control? And then, is this serving me, this worry, this concern? How am I using this? Really talk to yourself and watch your body and your brain start to react differently.
Yes, because if you can't control what's happening, there's nothing else you can do except take a deep breath, which is your next tip.
Yeah, take a deep breath is huge because it's the body talking to the brain that we need to relax. And when we do that, we want the brain and the body to be coincide with each other, and we really want them to understand what's going on, so we have a better life for ourselves and the people around us. So when we take the deep breaths, and anybody can try this at home too, is when you take deep breaths, you can feel everything just kind of slow down. Your brain starts to slow down. Your worry, all your angst starts to slow down. So taking huge breaths is really important. People think, well, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal.
Yes.
And it also helps you think better, because now you're taking the emotion out of it and then putting your intelligence more into it. So you can actually now form a good opinion of what's going on. So pay attention to your body and take deep breaths, because you want to take care of yourself.
It's like the mindfulness movement. Everyone trying to be in the moment, be mindful of everything you do, and don't look back and don't look forward. Stay in the moment.
Yeah, people try to do this all the time, and I'm guilty of this as well at times, so I have to remind myself. When we look back at what happened, we're replaying it in our mind. Our mind and our body is reacting like it's happening right now again.
Yeah, you feel that emotion.
Exactly. So if something bad happened weeks ago, months ago, a year ago, and you think about it a lot, basically what you're doing is you're making it happen again and again and again. It's torture. So you really don't want to do that.
No.
So you want to be aware of it and say, okay, how can I control this? What am I doing? It happened a while ago. It's done now. You want to continue to do that. And in the future as well. So when the future hasn't come yet, so you're trying to control something that isn't here yet. Yes, you can be concerned about it. Yes, you can be prepared. But there's a difference. If you worry about the future that you can't control, you're in a state of not controlling and not living in the now, which is so huge, because that's where the mindfulness comes from. And that's what you can control. It's happening right now.
Yes, and you did already touch on this, but your next tip is to pay attention only to what you can control, which you just mentioned. That's all that you can't worry about the things that are out of your hands.
Right, and I think this happens for teenagers. I think this happens for adults all the time, if you really think about it. We replay things in our head constantly. And if you have control over replaying it in your head and say, wait a minute, it's done. What am I going to do now? How do I get better? Is this serving me, playing it over and over again? No, it's making me feel ill. It's making my head hurt, that kind of stuff. You're really going to affect not only yourself, but the people around you. It makes you in a bad mood. It makes you start acting out, because your emotion is like it's happening again.
And you may not even realize what is causing all of this emotion, this negativity, and it could be that simple thing. So you suggest that the next step is to make a decision, even if you don't really want to, whatever that decision may be, just make it.
Right. I mean, look at all the odds, see what's going on, look at everything. Be mindful of what you can control. That's huge. But then make a decision. And the reason why I say make a decision, well, it's easy for you to say, people will say that out there. You make a decision and then be done with it, because the more you procrastinate a decision, the more you worry, the more you obsess, the more it makes you sick, the more you get headaches, all that stuff. So you're making it much worse than it is. So make the decision, a conscious effort, be good with it, I've done my best, and be done with it. And if something happens and it wasn't the right decision, people go, well, how do you know if it was the right decision? You'll deal with it. And you'll deal with it in the power of now. You'll deal with it again. So make the decision, and then if something else comes up, well, that's in the now. So then you deal with that.
Well,
So
right, we learned about closure and how closure is so important. So making that decision gives that whatever is obsessing in your mind closure, so
Right.
you can move on and live your life.
Right.
And your last tip is go for good enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect.
yeah, this is brutal, and I know we obsess over this being parents. It's like we always want to be better. We always worry that we're not giving enough or being there enough for our children. We need to be nice to ourselves and really see what we can control of what we give. So we can give this to our children, we can give this time to our children, and be okay with that, because we're always like, I don't know if we're too hard on ourselves, once again, of we're not doing enough. And when you're hard on yourself and not doing enough, then you're not living in the now of doing enough.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds kind of strange, but it's really the truth, because you worry about, am I being the greatest parent or whatever situation
Instead of putting
I can be.
energy into being the greatest parent. Thank you for this
Exactly.
reminder, Jeff, because it is something that I think we all worry about all the time. Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? But thank you for reminding me that I am. And to
Most
everyone else
definitely.
out there, you're doing okay. You're
Yeah.
doing enough.
And-
Thank you.
And if you have that problem, surround yourself with good people who remind you of that, because
Right.
that helps too.
Wonderful. Great tips. No more worrying obsessively, right? Love your
That's right.
advice. Love having you here.
Thank you.